Good morning, everyone. Welcome to DigAlert's Underground Safety Awareness event. Oh, goodness. As you can see, we are celebrating our 50-year anniversary this year. So welcome, first of all, to our first 2026 virtual underground safety awareness event. While I'm welcoming you, please make sure that your device is set up so that you can clearly hear and see the presentation. We will be asking questions periodically through the webinar. So if you do have any questions, please ask them, but use the chat, raise your hand, or the Q&A located in your menu bar. As you can maybe hear, I do have a slight cold / allergies, so I do apologize for my nasal voice. So just excuse that, please. And if I go quiet and video stops for a minute, it may be because I'm blowing my nose. So it might not be necessarily a technical issue. So I do apologize in advance for that. And going back to the questions, just ask your questions. And like I said, periodically we will be stopping and answering your questions and also asking you guys questions. So if you were not aware, every registered attendee will receive a $10 Starbucks e-gift card and a safety certificate. So that means if you went onto our website and you put in your first, last name, and all your information, you are registered. However, if you did not do that, but you are rather in a group setting, you do need to make sure that whoever is the powers to be, to make sure that they email me at amber@digalert.org by the end of today. By the end of today, everybody first and last name and the email address that you want me to send the safety certificates to, and also to the Starbucks e-gift card. If you do not get me that list by the end of today, you may forfeit the Starbucks e-gift card because they will be sent out first thing tomorrow morning, because I give the end to the end of the day for all those groups to give me those first and last name and the email address. Now, also, if you are sending or you want me to send, or it's not coming from me, the Starbucks e-gift cards are actually coming from Starbucks. So make sure that if you are having Starbucks send to your company's email address, that Starbucks is not blacklisted on your company's server. So please note that. And what is going on with my gosh, I do apologize. I'm having problems with my. Okay. Also, if you want to be eligible for a Home Depot e-gift card, we will be issuing or randomly selecting for a 25, 50, 75, and our grand prize of $100 Home Depot e-gift card. You do need to text the word SAFE, SAFE, with a space, the word win, WIN, with another space. Make sure you get those spaces, because if not, it's not going to work. Your first name, and then another space with your last name, and you want to text that to 344-258. The Home Depot e-gift cards will be selected at the end of the webinar. That reminds me, you also have to stay the entire webinar to receive your Starbucks e-gift cards. And just keep in mind that if you have data charges, they may apply. Again, text the word SAFE, space win, space first name and your last name to 344-258 to be eligible to win up to $100 Home Depot e-gift card. And if you don't get that done right away, don't worry. This slide will be also presented and periodically through the webinar. And so because of our sponsors, which include Crimson Pipeline, Kinder Morgan, Long Beach Utilities, Marathon Pipeline, and SoCal Gas, because of our sponsors, you are receiving your Starbucks e-gift card and eligible to win up to $100 Home Depot e-gift card. So thank you, sponsors. And with that, I am going to introduce our president, Ann Diamond, and she has some questions for you.
Thank you, Amber. Let me get this started. I know that usually you're told in meetings and classes and whatnot not to use your phones. However, for this one, we do want you to use your phones. So, we want you to be engaged. We want you to start using your phones to answer some of these questions. Please, everybody, take your phones out and scan the QR code. So that you can start answering questions.
And you need to share your screen.
I know, I didn't hit the share button. There we go. All right. There's the QR code.
I don't see it.
I've got 29 people who joined.
Okay, I see it now. I'd like someone on make sure that someone in attendance can see it too, because I did have do something in order to see it. Okay, so yes, people are joining. Good, they're seeing it. Perfect. Thank you, Nick.
All right, it says we have 51, 52. It does say we have like 500 attendees, so. Okay, we'll go ahead and get going. You should be, there are a few people who are putting in the chat that theirs are not working. Make sure that when you scan that you just put your phone up to the QR code, and you don't have to take a picture of it. You want to basically click the link that it goes to.
If you're unable to scan the QR code because you are on your phone, you could go to menti.com. That's MENTI.com. And the code would be 46352929. And I will put that in the chat.
All right. We'll go ahead and get started with our questions for now. Is this your first underground safety awareness webinar? Yes or no? With the number of people who registered, I'm thinking I should have included the slide of asking where you heard about us. All right, so it looks like we have a lot of newbies. Great. We like to know that we are not just preaching to the choir, that we are giving good new information to everyone. So since the majority said this is your first webinar, the question is now, are you a DigAlert Direct user? Yes or no? Ooh, I like seeing lots of yeses on that. But even the no's will explain for those who don't know what a DigAlert Direct user is. We will be explaining that in a little while. Do you have or have you used the free DigAlert app? Yes, no, or DigAlert has an app? Do you have or have you used the free DigAlert app? Yes, no, or DigAlert has an app? All right. Well, for those of you who said yes, fantastic. I know you guys know that that is an easy way to get lots of information, and throughout the webinar we will be explaining what all of those are. Those who said no, you're going to want to download that. And our last question for now, what does DigAlert do? Does DigAlert mark lines? Does DigAlert give permission to dig? Or is DigAlert the communication link between excavators and operator? What does DigAlert do? Well, for those of you who say we mark lines and give permission to dig, that's not correct. We are the communications link between excavators and operators. And those are all my questions for now. Back to you, Amber.
Okay, thank you. I'm really proud of that last question. I thought it would be a little bit more lopsided with the yes and no's. So, because even some of our members don't know what we do. So good for you guys. All right. So 50 years in service for safe excavation services, because unfortunately, back in June of 1976, an excavating company was digging on Venice Boulevard in Culver City. They were installing a water line and hit a petroleum pipeline. 1,000 gallons of low lead gasoline was flowed out and it did ignite. After everything was said and done, 16,000 gallons of this gasoline was released, 7 buildings were destroyed, and 9 people were killed. 3 months later, DigAlert began its operation as a regional notification center in Southern California, Southern California, and we serve over 900 utility owner operators in the 9 counties that we service here in SoCal, which include Imperial, Inyo, LA, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. And not only did we process over 1 million tickets in 2025, but we also processed over 1 million tickets in 2024. So we are on a roll. We are busy, just like you. And I'm going to apologize again, but but we are going to review and discuss the California excavation law. We are going to go through quite a bit of definition. So my apologies if you feel like you're back in high school or college. Um, there won't be a test. We are going to review excavators' responsibilities and the owner operators' responsibilities because it is actually a shared responsibility for a safer excavation. We will review consequences because I hope you are already aware, but there is actual and enforcement agency 24216, the Underground Safety Board. Believe it or not, DigAlert is not the enforcement agency. We are just the regional notification center. And like I said, we will answer your questions periodically and then again at the finally at the end of our webinar. So again, use your chat, raise your hand on your menu bar to ask any questions, and we will answer those questions periodically. So first definition, what is an excavation? Well, 4216 defines an excavation as any operation in which earth, rock, or other material being sidewalk, other material being asphalt, in the ground is moved, removed, or otherwise displaced by means of tools, equipment, or explosives in any of the following ways. Ready? Big breath here for me. We have grading, trenching, digging, ditching, drilling, augering, tunneling, scraping, cable or pipe plowing, and driving, or any other way. If you are putting the shovel in the ground, it doesn't matter about depth, you are excavating. I emphasize material being your sidewalk and asphalt because the CPUC, the California Public Utility Commissions, does allow communications to be embedded or buried within material. So if you're saw cutting a sidewalk or grinding asphalt, that could be considered an excavation. Who is an excavator? Every person on this webinar is an excavator. The only person actually exempt from contacting DigAlert prior to their planned excavation is a homeowner doing their own work on their own private property with no permit required. However, DigAlert is free for you as an excavator. So even if you're digging on your own private property, all homeowners are encouraged to contact DigAlert prior to their planned excavation. Again, it's free and it's for your safety. Now, who is an operator? An operator is the entity that owns or maintains a subsurface installation line. That's our members. We kind of use them as members, owner operators, utility companies, whatever you want to call them. But they're defined as in the government code, an operator as the entity that owns, operates, or maintains that subsurface installation line. However, what's the definition of a subsurface installation line? Well, it's basically everything in the ground, pipeline, conduit, duct, wire, or any other structure except for non-pressurized sewer line, non-pressurized storm drains rather, or non-pressurized drain lines. So what this means to you as an excavator, if you go out to your job site and you're doing your survey and you say, oh, there's gravity sewer, but they're not being notified on your DigAlert ticket, you should be contacting them directly. Now, if they're on your ticket, they are they're a member of DigAlert and they must follow the 811 rules and regulations in the 4216 government code. Also, Caltrans is not a member of DigAlert. We have tried. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry again. This is my day of apologies, apparently. So what this means to you again, as an excavator, if you are on Caltrans right away and you want to contact them directly. And if you think the 811 process is inconvenient for you as an excavator, good luck with Caltrans. I've heard some pretty awful stories dealing with Caltrans and getting their information. Sorry if another apology. Sorry, Caltrans, if you're on the webinar. Okay, so for an excavator, you have the majority of the responsibility. There are 5 steps to a safer excavation, and this is required by every excavator. Every entity that is putting the shovel in the ground must follow the 811 process, which includes to delineate, contact, wait, confirm, and then of course follow safe excavation practices. Another definition, but it's also the first step in a safer excavation, and this means to delineate. Any excavator planning to conduct an excavation shall delineate the area to be excavated. Shall. Um, if you are ever in legal practices in the legal court, and I hope you're never ever are, but if you happen to be, the word shall means in the government code and any legal terminology means that you have to. So you have to delineate the area to be your excavation area in white, the location or path of the proposed excavation. If you do not delineate your excavation site before contacting 811, the utilities do not have to respond to your excavation site. They do not have to locate and field mark their facilities. So make sure you delineate before contacting DigAlert. You do not want that to delay your job on the very first step. Now, the second step is to contact 811. The government code says, except in an emergency, and we will be getting into an emergency, an excavator planning to conduct an excavation shall notify DigAlert. You can do this within the legal minimum notification of 2 full working days, but you can actually have submit a DigAlert ticket up to 14 calendar days. And we encourage you, excavators, if at all possible, these are for planned excavation. So if you have it planned out and you can actually provide more lead time to that utility owner operator, up to 14 calendar days. I use SoCal Gas, who is a sponsor of this webinar, as my example, because everybody knows who SoCal Gas is, right? They are a large company. They receive thousands of DigAlert tickets daily, thousands. And even though they are a large company, if every excavator only provides the legal minimum notification of 2 full working days, not including the date of notification, they do not even have all the resources to respond to every single one of those tickets. So if at all possible, please provide more lead time, up to 14 calendar days. So your job's not delayed. They have the resources to go out and do it. Now, DigAlert Direct. I hope everyone is aware of DigAlert Direct. DigAlert Direct is our website platform where, as an excavator, you submit your own DigAlert ticket. No more calling 811. No more listening to that terrible, sorry, Anne, get another apology. We should call this sorry webinar. The terrible hold music, and so forth. A DigAlert Direct is available to you as an excavator 24/7, 24/7, every single day of the year, weekends, midnight, whatever. To access DigAlert Direct, you can go to direct.digalert.org, our website, our DigAlert free DigAlert app. You can even text us to 344-258, and DigAlert will send you a link to DigAlert Direct. So you can do it right where you are at on your phone. However, if you do want to call, our customer service representatives are always happy and available to assist you, but they are only available Monday through Friday, excluding holidays, from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. DigAlert Direct allows excavators to do a lot. You don't just have to input your new tickets, but you can, which we recommend that you do so. You have contact lookups. You can renew, remark. You can manage your DigAlert tickets. You can find your EPR, your electronic positive response. So if you are not already a DigAlert Direct user, I encourage you to check it out. If you have questions or need help, you can call at 951-808-8190, or you can email directsupport@digalert.org. And if, Anne, you wouldn't mind, you can put that in the chat. I would appreciate it. Now, remember when I said except in an emergency? Well, what is an emergency? An emergency is defined in 4216 as a sudden, unexpected occurrence involving a clear and imminent danger demanding immediate action um, to prevent or mitigate loss of or damage to life, health, property, or essential public services. So, what the government code says is, except in an emergency, an excavator shall notify DigAlert. So, what does this mean? If you have a true emergency, as per this definition, you actually do not have to contact 811. I don't recommend that. I recommend through, like I said, DigAlert Direct is available 24/7. And unfortunately, more often than not, your emergencies happen at the middle of the night when everyone's nice and cozy in bed and you have to get up and go, right? Or utility owner operators do. Our excavators are already out there, or might be already out there. So if you, as an excavator, you don't actually have to submit an emergency ticket. If you can, do so, whether through DigAlert Direct or through our office hours, Monday through Friday, excluding holidays from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Or if you cannot do that, you can, our free app has emergency contact information where you can contact those utilities directly. Not, remember, DigAlert has over 900 utility owner operators. Not every utility owner operator is going to have an emergency line locator. Our sponsors, they do. The ones that can hurt you, hurt your crew, the high priority lines, they're going to have emergency line locators. And that's who you definitely want to contact on your emergency excavation. Otherwise, it's recommended that you hand dig the entire job with being very careful due diligence, because you would be digging blind. Now, if you do submit an emergency ticket and a utility company rolls to the job site and they're like, where's the evident danger demanding immediate action? Crew's not even on site. Crew's not even en route. What's going on? It's not a true emergency. Then that utility company that actually, or utility companies that responded to your emergency ticket that they deem it is not a true emergency, they can actually bill you for responding to an emergency ticket that's not true. That's not a true emergency. If you do have a true emergency and you do have to submit a DigAlert ticket, and that DigAlert ticket does not cannot have a start date and time more than 24 hours. So if an emergency, my water companies are the worst. A drip, drip, drip is not an emergency. Excavators, your customer wants it done tomorrow. That's not an emergency. If you have something like that, submit a what's the word I'm looking for? A short notice ticket.
Short notice.
Thank you, Ann. A short notice ticket, so that way if the utilities do respond, at least you're not going to get billed. So the next step is for excavators is to wait. An excavator shall not begin until all operators have done one of the following. So excavators, while you are waiting, this is when the utility owner operator's responsibilities kick in. Remember, shared responsibility. And utility owner operators are required to do one of three things. They can, one, locate and field mark within your delineated area. So this always reminds me to tell my excavators, ask for offsets. I tell my line locators, mark offsets, because if you only mark the facilities within the delineated area and that excavation takes place it can only take place within that delineated area, and it removes the marks, you're asking for remarks and so forth. The second thing that the utility owner operators can do is provide information directly to you, the excavator. I'm not a big fan of this because I also deal with claims, so I like it in writing or where I can take pictures of those field markings. Or they can advise of no subsurface installations, no conflict. Once they have done one of those three things, the next responsibility for a utility owner operator is to post how they responded to your excavation through what is called electronic positive response, or EPR. And I hope everyone knows about this already. Uh, because what the government code says, an operator shall, there's that word shall again, supply an EPR through the DigAlert system before the legal excavation start date and time. And if I have you owner operators on this webinar, the Underground Safety Board is being very due diligent on contacting those utility companies that have not posted their EPR before the start date and time on some tickets. DigAlert actually has to give quarterly reports to the Underground Safety Board with this information. So if you're not already posting on EPR, you have to, you shall. Yes, field markings can be a response, and that's part of your legal responsibility, but your responsibility after that is post how you responded. And unless the excavators, now going back to excavators, unless your next step is you still have to confirm utilities have responded. On your DigAlert ticket, if you give permission to DigAlert, we can send to two different email addresses and two we can send it a text to two different numbers, the EPR responses seconds after your start date and time. However, if you want to check those EPR responses before your start date and time, you can do so by texting us 344-258, the letters PRESP with your ticket number. You can, again, check the EPR on our free DigAlert app, or you can go to digalert.org. And now you might want to check before your legal start date and time, because as of January 1st of 2025, if the utilities have posted one of those three responses, remember, locate, field mark, no provided information, or no conflict, then you can actually start your job before your legal start date and time. As long as, let me clarify, this has to be clear. I don't want excavators. Well, Amber said, as long as every entity on your ticket has responded one of those three answers on the EPR. If it does not say one of those three, you're probably not going to be able to begin your excavation until everyone on that ticket has indicated, marked, no conflict, or provided information. The next step is to follow safe excavation practices. And what this does mean that if you are digging within the tolerance zone, which the tolerance zone is 24 inches at either side of the marked facility or the exterior of the pipe, the government code says that the excavator shall determine the exact location using hand tools. What this kind of says in a roundabout way, excavators, is if at all possible, you want to hand dig to the depth of your excavation. I say this because, again, here's my claims hat. Abandoned lines are a huge issue, not just here in SoCal. It's a national issue. And unfortunately, what happens is to my excavators is they are doing their due diligence, or believe they're doing their due diligence. They hand dig, believe that they exposed the marked facility in conflict, come in with the heavy equipment, and guess what? That wasn't the marked facility in conflict. It could have been an abandoned line, and it could have been an unmarked line for that matter. So if at all possible, go to the depth of your excavation. Now, there are some best practices that owner operators should be utilizing, not only marking in the APWA color code, but also to mark the diameter of the pipe and the type of pipe. So if you go out there and you see a yellow a 2-inch PLA marked in the color yellow, what are you looking for? You're looking for a 2-inch plastic gas line. Also, if they do give you the diameter of the pipe, you have to divide that and then add the inches on either side. So if you got a 2-inch, you're going to actually be going 25, 25 If you have a 10-inch, you're going to add 5 inches, so it would be 29, 29 of that tolerance that will extend the tolerance zone. Also, STL would reflect a steel line. The more information is given to the excavators as far as the type, the diameter, and so forth, the safer the excavation, because that's what they'll be looking for. There are other ways to expose underground facilities that you can utilize vacuum excavation. If you want to use VAC, you do have to provide your intentions to the utility companies. When you submit a DigAlert ticket, we ask you if it's a yes or no question. If you clicked on yes on the DigAlert Direct or told our customer service yes, then you've provided your intentions, because a DigAlert ticket is a legal document. Now, before 2025, you used to have to go out to your job site, check to see who was in conflict within that 24-inch tolerance zone, and then you'd have to contact those utility companies to get permission to utilize that. No longer. Effective January 1st of 2025, owner operators, if they do not want you to utilize VAC in or around their facilities, they have to indicate on the EPR that they do not want you to use VAC around their facilities. So you have to check your EPR, excavators. And if it does not say anything in regards to VAC, there's no saying do not use VAC, you can use VAC. You do not no longer have to contact them and get a verbal agreement. It's just now written on or not written on EPR. Another way you can expose underground facilities is by utilizing a handheld, percussive, pneumatic, electric, or hydraulic hammer, basically your clade spade. It does have to weigh 40 pounds or less. It does have to have a bit width no less than 4 inches with rounded edges. You can only use the clade spade in the tolerance zone if the soil is classified by Cal OSHA as either type A or type B. Just like a shovel, please put the bit edge parallel. There's the word shall if you're reading the slide, not perpendicular to the field markings. And you can use this type of equipment for, in fact, actually, I might give you a test, even though I can't hear you. You can use the clay spades to mark anything in blue, water, green, sewer, red, electric, yellow, gas, oil, steam, purple, reclaimed water. You cannot use the clay spade at all to expose anything marked in orange, which is your communications line. This does include alarm or signal lines, cables, or conduits, and it also includes street lighting or traffic signals, which is usually marked in red, but they're also usually identified as street lighting or traffic signals. So no clay spade on anything marked in orange or for your street or traffic signals. Now, this gives me an opportunity to take a drink of my coffee that's getting cold, and I am going to go ahead and give it back to Anne.
Thanks, Amber. All right, I will get back to sharing my screen again. Again, if you haven't already used the QR code, we're going to, it's up there again for you. Now, is also the time for you to put into chat, raise your hand, questions. But right now, I'm going to ask a few questions on some of the things that Amber has just talked about. If the area of a planned excavation is not delineated, do operators need to mark their lines? Yes or no? If the area of planned excavation is not delineated, do operators need to mark their lines? All right, the majority of you are correct. No, an operator does not need to mark their lines if the area is not delineated. And some people will say, but why? I've told them where it is I'm going to be digging. If the operators have a question based off of your delineation versus what is on the ticket, they want to make sure that they are marking the area where you're really going to be digging. So if the area is not delineated, they do not need to mark their lines. All right, next question. I can get a ticket 24/7, 365 days a year from calling 811, from DigAlert Direct, or from contacting the utility directly. Where can you get a ticket any time of the day or night, especially if you are a standard user, not a guest user? There are 3 different levels of direct users at this point. There's guest, that'd be like you doing your online shopping and not wanting to give all of your information. This is just a one-time thing. There's standard, which allows you to do everything, and you usually get a ticket 90% of the time, unless there's a question about the location and the drawing. And then there's the professional user as well. But the majority of you are correct. You can get a ticket 24/7, 365 from DigAlert Direct. If you call 811, we are only open Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you contact the utility directly and you say the words digging, they're going to tell you to call 811. All right, next question. Who does not have to be a member of DigAlert? Caltrans, gas and oil lines, or non-pressurized sewers, storm drains, or drain lines? Who does not have to be a member? Mark all that are correct. Caltrans, gas and oil lines, non-pressurized sewers, storm drains, or drain lines. All right. It's Caltrans and the non-pressurized sewer lines, storm drains, or drain lines. Gas and oil lines definitely have to be members. They're the reason we're having this webinar. All right, next question. When can you begin digging on a planned excavation? In 2 days, after I get a ticket number, or once all operators have either marked, provided information, or advised of no conflict. When can you begin digging on a planned excavation? In 2 days, after I get a ticket number, once all operators have either marked, provided information, or advised of no conflict. Once all operators have either marked, provided information, or advised of no conflict is when you can begin your excavation. The reason we say planned excavation is in an emergency, as Amber noted. You don't need to get a ticket. We absolutely encourage you to, so that you know who's out there. But if it's a true emergency, you really need to start digging now. If you've given 14 days notice and everybody has responded by either marking, providing you information, or advising of no conflict, if you check your EPR and everybody says no conflict or clear no conflict, you can start digging once you have all of those responses for everybody who is listed on that ticket. How deep can you dig without getting a DigAlert? I dropped a T. Without getting a DigAlert ticket? You can dig up to 18 inches. You always need to contact DigAlert. Up to 2 feet. How deep can you dig without getting a DigAlert ticket? Up to 18 inches. Always contact DigAlert. Up to 2 feet. Always contact DigAlert when you're going to dig. It doesn't matter if you're just taking a spoonful of dirt out of the ground. Get a ticket. It's free. Depth does not matter. There are some states that there are exemptions for how deep you're going to be digging. Not in California. Anytime you're going to dig, get a free ticket. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we have some questions that you guys have asked that we're going to answer for you. All right, we have a question. How often should underground utility maps be updated? It's up to each person or each company. However, we do ask that when you have added or subtracted lines, that you notify us of those changes. One, so that you'll be notified if you've added lines, and if you've sold off lines or abandoned them or taken them out of the ground, let us know that too, so you won't be notified and constantly getting tickets where you're having to say no conflict. DigAlert sends out a request yearly asking our members to update their shapefiles, polygons, so that, as a reminder. Now, there are some people who their lines are never ever going to change. They've been in the ground for 50 years or more. However, it's always a good thing for us to send out a reminder to update their information. So, as often, you should update your utility maps as often as needed. Question. How does the utility marking process work after contacting DigAlert? We used to be known as a one-call center. You would make one phone call to us, and then we in turn would notify we would contact all of the other utilities in your area of digging. We try not to say call anymore because so much of our traffic is done through DigAlert Direct now, but it's the same principle. You make one notification to DigAlert, and we in turn notify, and the average is about 8 different operators. If you're working in the Port of Los Angeles or the Port of Long Beach, where there's tons of oil lines, it's probably closer to you make one notification and we notify about 20 people. And then once they receive that information, they either go out and mark their lines, they determine that where you're going to be digging, there is no conflict, or they contact you with information about where their lines are. There are some members that have very sensitive lines and they won't put paint on the ground. They will go out and meet with you and show you exactly where it is. Let's see. Are there penalties for not contacting DigAlert before digging? Yes. Amber mentioned the Underground Safety Board. She will be getting into consequences in this next portion of the webinar. The Underground Safety Board is going looking at violations of people who do not contact DigAlert before digging, especially if there is a damage. Penalties range from education to fines. So, and then of course there are other fines as well. Cal OSHA can be brought in depending on the type of line, the CPUC, Contractor State License Board. There are. It's just that if nothing happens and people don't know about it, it's hard to hold somebody accountable, but you don't know who they are. How does GPS or digital mapping improve excavation safety? It improves it by being more accurate. It narrows down where the lines are. Global positioning makes it easier. As Amber has mentioned, the tolerance zone. The operators have to be, when they mark, have to be accurate, and you have to hand expose 24 inches either side of the line. So that's 2 feet. The more digital mapping and improving that happens, the better that might get down to a closer technical specs. However, as I mentioned, there have been lines that are in the ground for 50 years. LA County has had lines in the ground for over 100 years. And they aren't necessarily looking to upgrade all of their stuff. In 4216, it does require that new lines, new subsurface installations that are put in have to be included in a GIS system. So they're trying to make it so that it's more accurate. What documentation should contractors keep before starting a dig project? Years ago, we used to, when we had, and it was cheaper, in-person events, we would give out little cameras. That's the biggest, and now everybody has a camera in their pocket with their phones. Take pictures of your delineation. Take pictures of the markings before you put a shovel into the ground. So you have that documentation. The other thing is keep a copy of the ticket keep the copy of all of the EPR responses that you have gotten. And if you do need a copy of a ticket, Amber mentioned that she has two different hats, her safety awareness and then her claims hat. You can put in a request if it's within the last 5 years for Amber to provide you a copy of a ticket if for some reason you don't have that. There is a charge for that, however. Right. You would also want to keep any interactions with operators. Written is always better than verbal. Why isn't it mandatory anyone getting a business license that may dig for any reason don't have to take this course? Don't know. We are available. The Contractor State License Board does have some questions about 4216 on their test for getting a license. They have both a skills and law test that you have to take. But if you know of anyone who does need to have this information that we could provide, please contact Amber and she can set up a tailgate presentation going out, or we are going to have more webinars. And they are listed on our website. When I'm out in the field, I sometimes cannot understand markings. Is there a source we can refer to? Yes. There is DigAlert has an excavator handbook, and it shows suggested guidelines for markings, both for delineation and for operators and what those markings mean. They are derived from the Common Ground Alliance, which is a national organization, best practices. So that would be the first resource. The next resource is you can always contact DigAlert and ask for a ticket to be resent, asking for clarification of the markings. And it could be something as simple as, you know, the operator saying, oh, that means it's a 6-inch PVC pipe. Do we have mobile apps that help contractors track underground utilities in California? No, not that I am aware of that. For that, there are programs that allow excavators to manage their tickets and keep that type of information, a ticket management system for excavators to be able to know when they need to renew a ticket or that type of thing. I don't know that there is anything out there except it's not a mobile app, but PHMSA, the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, has a website that shows gas and oil lines. Through cutting of asphalt concrete roadway with flat saw while over DigAlert service layout to complete surface material removal to pothole and locate the service. What is DigAlert's interpretation? the law says that you can use mechanical equipment to remove pavement if there are no known embedded lines in the pavement. I don't want to give an interpretation of this one because I'm a little confused about the question, but you'll always want to work with the operators to figure out the best way to complete your job, but also protect their facilities. Sorry to be so vague. All right, whose responsibility is it to make sure a standby is on site for high value assets? Is it noted on DigAlert's side that will inform the excavator? Well, high priority lines are your Amber, what I don't know them off the top of my head. Thank you. Your natural gas pipelines, petroleum lines, pressurized sewage lines, high voltage electric lines, hazardous materials that are potentially hazardous. It is the operator's responsibility to notify the excavator to set up an on-site meeting before the legal start date and time, if it is any of those type of lines. So it's the operator who is responsible to set that up. At that meeting, they are to discuss ways in which to, again, protect their lines, and it may be that they want somebody standing by when they are doing when you were doing the work. But again, that is each company's responsibility. Members with non-pressurized lines such as drainage pipes, are they required to be part of this program? No, they are not. However, if they are, if that's all that they have and they are a member, they are required to mark their lines. If they are notified or they are required to say there's no conflict because maybe the lines are deeper than you're going to be digging or they're outside of your area. But if they are notified, then yes, they need to respond in some way. Are private locating companies allowed, and if so, can they mark in APWA color codes? If they are marking for a utility, then yes, they should be marking in the American Public Works Association colors. If they are marking private lines, they probably shouldn't mark, I'll use my house as an example. The gas company would mark up to their meter, and then I have a gas line from that meter to my pool heater. So a private locating company probably shouldn't mark yellow as to that gas line, but they should mark it if that's what you are looking for on a private line. All right, this was great. These, I think, are the most questions we have had ever, and I hope that we have answered them. Amber, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay, everyone can see my screen? Yes, I'm sharing. Okay. This slide will be again, I'm sorry, I should have put it on after Anne answered her questions. This, again, another sorry. um, so if you haven't already, text 344-258, the word safe with a space, with the word win, another space, your first name and your last name. That's 344-258, safe, win, first and last name. And this will be, again, I will make sure it's shown at the end of our at the end of my webinar or my presentation. But I want to get going because that was a lot of questions and great questions, but I want to try to keep us on time and get you back to work. So a couple new things: that the exact location of a subsurface installation line cannot be determined while you're hand digging, you're doing your due diligence. You're like, I cannot find this. Um, Contact the utility owner operator, and utility owner operators, you have 1 business day to provide relevant existing additional information to that excavators. It's not 2 full working days, not including the date of notification. It is 1 working day. However, a working day is defined in the government code as Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. But that's for additional relevant information because the excavator cannot find that underground substructure. Now, we already kind of answered this. The only thing I want to add is excavators, yes, it's the responsibility of that owner operator to contact you to meet if you're digging within 10 feet of those high priority lines. However, if they do not, and you see that they're being notified on your ticket, contact them directly. You definitely need to have that meeting prior to your start date and time, because again, those are the ones that are going to hurt you, your crew, maybe require first responders, maybe be on the local television news and so forth. So make sure you get that meeting. And also excavators, utilities of these high priority subsurface installations can direct you on how to dig in and around those facilities. And I recommend that you follow those directions with little or rather no complaint. So operators and excavators, you must provide current and valid contact information as it changes. Operators, DigAlert sends you every year to update your information. You now have access that you don't even have to wait for us to for you to update your information. You have your login. Make sure you have your current contact information. The DigSafe board is getting rather irritated and they're trying to contact the utility owner operators from DigAlert's information, and DigAlert has had this forever. Oh, that person hasn't been with us for 10 years. It is your responsibility, utilities, to update that information. Now, for excavators, this is different. For you do also need to keep your on-site contact information on your tickets valid. What this means to you is if your foreman on-site contact goes on vacation, you need to update the name, telephone number, and the email address on that ticket, and that information needs to be maintained for the duration of that ticket. Now, even though the 5 steps to a safer excavation, excavators, you have more responsibilities. You need to manage your tickets. Tickets are valid for 28 calendar days from the day it was issued. If your work continues, all you need to do is renew your ticket on or before that 28th calendar day. If you have DigAlert Direct or even our free app, the free app and DigAlert Direct can help you manage your DigAlert tickets. You can have a default up to 3 to 7 days, and in a couple swipes, you can update all your DigAlert tickets. You should never, ever be digging on a expired ticket. If you do have an expired ticket that you are digging on, and if there is a damage, first thing they're going to do is say, hey, Amber, is there a valid ticket number for this location and time frame? Even if it's expired by 1 day and there's a damage, the ticket's not valid, you're in violation of 4216, and here's your bill. If you do allow the ticket to expire and you need to renew it, but it's already expired, you have to follow the 811 process all over again, which means you shall stop your excavation and start all over again. So don't let your tickets expire if you are still digging. Also, if the marks are no longer reasonably visible, this is why I recommend offsets. But even if the offsets are no longer reasonably visible, excavators, you do need to stop your excavation, redelineate your excavation site, because it can be easily assumed that if their marks are no longer reasonably visible, your delineated area is no longer reasonably visible. And yes, you have to wait 2 full working days, not including the date of notification, for those utilities to come back out and remark. Now, if you check your EPR excavators and it says something other than locate and field mark, provided information, or no conflict, you're probably not going to be able to start your excavation. If it says resend ticket for what, and that gives you the reason why you need to resend the ticket. It could say resend ticket, no delineated area. Resend ticket, no access because you forgot to give the gate code. Every single time it says resend ticket, excavators, you have to respond through the DigAlert system to their request or to their response. You have to respond to their response. And you would do that through a return trip ticket. So you would say, okay, now it's truly delineated. Sorry, da 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 da. Or, okay, my bad. Here's the gate code. Every time though you submit a return trip ticket, it restarts the clock to 2 full working days, not including the date of notification. Now, a damage. Yes, it's a break. It's water gushing down the street. It is also included a nick, dent, gouge, or groove, or any other damage to an underground line. If you discover or cause a damage to a high priority line, the ones you have to meet if you're digging within 10 feet, or if there is an escape of product from gas or any other hazardous liquid line, excavators, first thing you have to do per the government code is to contact 911. So if there's an escape or to a high priority line, you, of course, not the first thing, get the crews in a safe location, get, everybody away, so forth, then call 911. Unless the excavator is the owner operator. So if, SoCal Gas damages a SoCal gas line, no, they don't have to call 911. But any other excavator, even if the excavator's doing the work for SoCal Gas, you still have to call 911. Then you contact the utility owner operator immediately after that. And then you do have to submit a damage ticket through DigAlert, but you have up to 48 hours to do that. Now, the enforcement agency, we talked about this, and there were some questions, great questions. The Underground Safety Board is the enforcement agency to 4216. They are coordinating education and outreach activities. We've had a couple of workshops. They are developing standards specific to the state of California, aka the Clade Spade. They are investigating and they are enforcing enforcing 4216. You can email them at digboard@energysafety.ca.gov. If you want to file a complaint or a violation, go to California 811 and .org, and then you can pick SoCal because you're in SoCal, and then it will take you directly to the Underground Safety Board's website. Otherwise, you can go to energysafety.ca.gov/, whatever. Go to California811.org or even go to digalert.org, and we have a link to the Underground Safety Board. Consequences. 4216 governed by the Dig Safe Board. Any operator or excavator who negligently violates 4216 can be fined up to $10,000. Now, knowingly and willfully violates 4216, you can be fined up to $50,000. knowingly and willfully violates 4216, and there is a result in the escape of any flammable, toxic, or corrosive gas, you know, the ones that you have to call 911 for, you can be fined up to $100,000. That is just 4216. Have I ever seen these fines? Not yet, thank goodness, right? But you also have other enforcement agencies. You have the Attorney General, which I hope you never ever get in contact with it. The district attorney, again, I hope you never ever are contacted by the district attorney, because that's really bad. If but excavators, you have permitting agencies. They can revoke your permit, and they can deny future permits, saying, you know, you're an unsafe excavator. You're not digging in our area. Loss of jobs. Then excavators, you have the Contractor State License Board can issue fines, suspend or remove your license. And then for our utility owner operators, you have the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, and the State Fire Marshal. All can issue fines and other consequences. Now, I need everyone to scan this QR code. And if you cannot scan your the QR code, please go to the Underground Safety Board website, California Natural Resources Agency. If you want a copy of this this PowerPoint presentation, email me and I will send it to you. It will not have everything on this, because we're not going to send you the questions and so forth, but there are links that you can click on this webinar, on this PowerPoint presentation, because you need to become involved. The Underground Safety Board it's already in law. It became law in September of 2025, some of the new things that they're going to do, but they're having discussions, and it cannot be implemented until July 1st of 2027. Some of the things that are going to become effective January 1st of 2027, after they figure out how to do it, is planning and design requests, ticket volumes, excavators. They're saying, okay, when an excavator must give more than 2 full working day notice of their intent to dig. You know, if you have, for an example, they're talking about if you have a multi-employer job site and there's a lot of excavation, you know, they might limit certain tickets for that certain area. That's the discussion. That's the discussion you guys want to be involved in. It's called facilitating exchange of information. Become involved. And what you're going to be doing is enrolling in the Underground Safety Board e-filing system. And all you're going to do is get emails saying, okay, we have a workshop coming up. We're going to talk about planning and design. We're going to have a workshop coming up talking about potholing. We're going to have a general meeting where you can watch and see who they're investigating, what they're investigating, how they're investigating, and what fines or education or consequences that they're issuing to these utility companies and excavators, because they are investigating both. So you definitely need to become involved. And with that, I went a little bit fast, and I do apologize, but we have some more questions for you, and then we're going to answer more of your questions, and then we're going to do some drawings. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Anne.
All right, I'm going to put in the chat before I ask the questions the link for you to, if you couldn't scan that QR code, the link to the Underground Safety Board to become to get on their e-filing list. All right. Before I ask my questions, I noticed a couple in the chat, and I apologize for not getting to those last time. How long can an excavator keep a ticket open without working? Well, an excavator should not get a ticket if they're not going to begin working in 14 calendar days. Do we know that sometimes that happens, that tickets are renewed for a long, long time before a shovel is actually put in the ground? Yes. Is there anything DigAlert can do about it? No, we are not the enforcement agency. So basically, what we tell people is, in talking about the number of tickets that an excavator can call in for a certain area, we might be, the Underground Safety Board is looking at that and maybe limiting that. We have always been of the opinion that only call in the number of tickets that you think you can finish in 28 days, because that's how long a ticket is good before you have to renew it. Are there some jobs that are going to take years? Yes, there's work on the freeways all the time. But do not call in tickets that are constantly updated when you have not even begun the work. Does it happen should it happen that you might be delayed and not able to work within that first 14 days, and you need to extend it, to renew it? That happens. But if it's always happening, that may be something the Underground Safety Board looks at ultimately. How long do tickets need to be saved for? DigAlert keeps tickets for 5 years, and that's a hard 5 years, meaning it's not that we have tickets from January of 2021 now, because we're in 2026. It would be March 13th of March 13th of 2021 forward that DigAlert has. All right. So I have a couple of Q&A in the questions and answers. I will get to those. I just wanted to get to those that were put in the chat last time that I did not catch. Okay. What's the correct order of contact when you damage a high priority line or hazardous liquid escapes? You call 911. You call 911, the operator, the Underground Safety Board, and then DigAlert. You contact the operator, you contact 911, you contact DigAlert, you contact the Underground Safety Board. You contact DigAlert. This is when you damage a high priority line or hazardous liquid escapes. What is the correct order of contact when you damage a high priority line or hazardous liquid escapes? All right, it is you contact 911 first. Then you contact the operator. Contact the Underground Safety Board, and then you contact DigAlert. DigAlert sends every ticket to the Underground Safety Board. The Underground Safety Board, their site, if you go to their site to report a damage, because it's one of these type, asks a lot of questions that DigAlert does not ask. Like if there was a fatality, what type of equipment was being used, that type of thing. However, DigAlert does send every ticket that we receive. The Underground Safety Board gets a copy of it as well. But the correct answer is contact 911, you contact the operator, Underground Safety Board, and DigAlert. Who needs to provide current valid contact information? Operators or excavators? Or is it both? Who needs to provide current valid contact information? Operators, excavators. Both. Remember, operators need to provide current and valid contact information. Excavators, you have an active ticket. The information on that ticket needs to be current. So if Joe is off on vacation and the foreman is now Bill, Bill needs to be listed as the contact person. Okay, now that we've gone through all of this, the same question we asked earlier, what does DigAlert do? Does DigAlert mark lines? Does DigAlert give permission to dig? DigAlert communicates between excavators and operators. I know some of you are out there just messing with me with that we mark the lines and that we give permission to dig. The correct answer is DigAlert communicates between excavators and operators. We send them the information that you want to be digging, and the operators send back through us what their response is with electronic positive response, so the excavator knows. All right, this one is freeform. You guys get to put in whatever you want. Be nice though. No bad words. How would you describe this webinar? And while you're doing that, I will start getting the names pulled, and we do have a few questions, but I will let that go for now. When is the board, Underground Safety Board, starting to impose citations to members that are not complying with positive response? They already have. They have been issuing education, and I don't remember if they've done any fines for no positive response. But they already have. All right. How can members participate in decisions that may influence policy? How often does the board meet, and how can members be involved in the process? The Underground Safety Board meets kind of quarterly. Their next meeting is in April. Let's see, April 13th and 14th in Riverside at the California Air Resources Board. They also have an online presence. The best way to be informed about these meetings and workshops and surveys and things like that is to get on their e-filing list so that you can participate. Right. And I will say that we're right at 9 o'clock, just going to be another moment or two. Thank you all very much for participating, and
A couple
I
things.
will go ahead, Amber.
Sorry. Give me a minute, Ann. Couple things. I want to apologize again. I need to fix our 911 slide because I did not indicate when to contact the Underground Safety Board. So my bad on that question. Also, my bad again. I we'll be sending the Home Depot e-gift card tomorrow. I will be leaving soon after this webinar, so I won't be able to get that done. I forgot. I'm not used to taking off. So so your Starbucks e-gift cards will be sent tomorrow. Same with your Home Depot e-gift cards. And again, if you are in a group setting, you need to send me the list of first, last name, and the email address you want me to send the Starbucks e-gift card by the end of today. Anne will be sending out the safety certificates today. Anything gets jumped back, we'll be contacting because we want to make sure everyone gets their Starbucks. So back to you, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. I don't want to say that we had this great big beautiful wheel we were going to spin, but something happened to it between our test last week and me trying to do it today. So I have the names of our Home Depot gift card winners. Our $25 winner is Javier Elias.
Woo!
Our $50 winner is Chuck Sapienzi. I apologize. I am the world's worst for pronouncing names.
Woohoo, Chuck!
Our $75 winner is Joe Bergioni.
Woohoo!
And our $100 winner is Thomas Sheehan.
Woohoo! So Javier, Chuck, Joe, and Thomas, you will be getting those tomorrow at your email address that you registered or that you sent to me. Anybody that would like a copy of this webinar, please email me at amber@digalert.org. And we're only 3 minutes over. So yay on that. We're keeping you guys, your time is valuable and we understand that. And we thank you for attending our underground safety webinar. We have a couple more this year and we also have an in-person. So check our website at digalert.org under events for more information. Thank you.